importante el tema de apoyarnos con el libro y saber qué actividades hacer con Máximo de acuerdo a su edad, cómo estimularlo, cómo cuidarlo de los peligros de la casa, como cosas que uno como papá nuevo no conoce, claro.
Pues a mí me gustaría que lo siguiéramos visitando aquí en la biblioteca de Covelo. Está tranquilo y muy bonito aquí.
Cuando no nos podemos reunir, nos comunicamos por Zoom o una llamada telefónica o por texto.
Donde nos visite, porque ha sido nuestra casa. A veces nosotros vamos a Willits y puede ser en el parque. Gaby llega, hacemos un resumen de cómo ha ido nuestra semana o qué hemos hecho de nuevo, cómo va el trabajo. Luego hacemos las actividades del libro. Vemos si podemos hacer un juguetito nuevo para Máximo. A veces ella lo evalúa, cómo está su sentido motriz, qué ha aprendido de nuevo, nuevas palabras, y jugamos un ratito y conversamos.
A mí personalmente también me ayudó mucho a obtener mi licencia a conducir, que era un objetivo que teníamos en cuanto a la familia, sí, para poder estar tranquilos, así que encuentro que ha sido fundamental el apoyo.
El objetivo del programa es que las familias estén bien, y que las familias estén bien significa niños felices, niños sanos, y eso en un futuro es adultos sanos y un mundo mejor. Entonces está bueno.
Planning Commission, special meeting of July 3rd, 2024. This is a hybrid meeting. Let's see, I'm going to call to order today's meeting. It is a hybrid meeting of the Planning Commission with participants both in person and digitally. The public may participate digitally in meetings by sending comments to pbscommissions@mendocinocounty.gov or orally via telecomment in lieu of personal attendance. All public comment will be made available to the commissioners, staff, and the general public after processing by staff, and can be viewed as attachments to this meeting agenda on the Planning Commission agenda page. Mr. Clerk, would you please do the roll call?
Commissioner Babini.
Here.
Commissioner Jones. Commissioner Purnell.
Here.
Commissioner Wiedemann. Chair Pollen.
Here. And I believe the commissioners that are not here are absent by pre-arrangement. Do we have a determination of legal notice?
Both matters on the agenda have been properly noticed.
Thank you very much. Director's report. Do you have a report from the director?
Good morning, Julia Krog, Planning and Building Services Director. So just a couple updates for you. We did a quorum check for a special Planning Commission meeting for July 25th. So we do have quorum for that day. We do expect to have a meeting that day. And that will be, of course, any matters for that agenda will be noticed according to noticing standards. Other updates for the commission is that we are hiring a new planner. They're going to start on Monday. We'll probably bring them in to introduce them to you all once they're started and settled, and we're excited about that. This is refilling a position that was vacated by Steven Schweitzer. And then in addition, we are hiring 2 new code enforcement officers, and those individuals, one is starting this next week, and the other is starting on the 22nd, I believe it is. So we're not fully staffed, but at least we're getting a few more bodies to help us with the workload, and we're looking forward to that. The other item that I want to let you know, and you may want to tour by the office to take a look at it, is we're in the process of doing a small remodel to our front counter in the Ukiah office, and this is really to move our building permit process to more of a station approach. So we have several different stations in there so folks will have individualized tasks, including signage over the top of each one of those stations. So if you're coming in, say, to just get your building permit issued, there'll be a specific individual that you'll walk up to, and that'll be clearly marked with signage, really trying to get at a point of having folks have, more focus in their job duties on a daily basis. And we hope that this will really create a better customer experience and also help to move permits through the process a bit faster. So that hasn't been fully implemented yet, but we're in the first step, which is doing the small remodel to the front counter. So if you want to, you should take a look when you're on your way out today. And that concludes my director's report. I am available for any questions.
I just had one. So Sonoma County uses that model. We always called it the cubes because they're more cubicles, but you go to each station to get approval for over-the-counter permits or zoning clearances, and it worked really well. The one thing that they did struggle with at first was like it would be empty for some time, and then they would just have like a rush of people. So they did an appointment kind of basis, and so I didn't know if you guys would be like implementing appointments for like over-the-counter review or anything.
Of course, individuals can make appointments with us at any time. We're happy to take appointments, but we still want to have that culture where you're able to walk in the door and also receive service as well. So we don't want to move to a fully appointment-based process, but of course we're always happy when people give us a heads up that they're coming in so we can be prepped and ready with whatever they may be wanting to talk with us about.
Thank you, Julia.
Thank you.
I had a question about our upcoming schedule. Are you expecting that special meeting on the 25th to be a longer meeting?
Yes.
Okay. And then is that in lieu of one on the 18th, or do we also have one scheduled?
Currently, we have no items tracking for the July 18th agenda. So depending on the results of today's meeting and provided nothing is continued to a future meeting date, there would be no meeting on the 18th.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
And then are we going to have a chance to talk about how the meeting on the 25th is going to be structured? Is now appropriate, or should we discuss later?
Well, I mean, certainly I can just mention, so as you are aware, we're planning to bring forward the zoning code update for the first hearing. And really how we plan to structure that is we'll be providing to the commissioners the entire packet, which is going to be a staff report, all chapters that are being amended. And my understanding from prior conversations with the commission is that to really kind of break down those chapters and go through them one by one, not expecting to necessarily get through the whole thing in one day. So I think we'll start with just a few chapters and we'll work through those, and if the commission feels up for it, we'll keep going through the remainder of the chapters. I'm thinking we'll just be going in the order of the code, starting with the very first chapters and then working our way through to the end of the code. So.
Perfect. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you very much. Moving on, agenda item number 4, matters from the public. Oh, thank you. Director's report. Are there any public comments on the director's report? Anyone on Zoom? Okay, great. Thank you for keeping me in line, Jim. All right, moving on. Agenda item number 4, matters from the public. Members of the public are welcome to address the Planning Commission on items not listed on the agenda, but within the jurisdiction of the Planning Commission. Planning Commission is prohibited by law from taking action on matters not on the agenda. Individuals wishing to address the Planning Commission under matters from the public may do so in person, via email, or Zoom. If any members of the public logged into Zoom meeting wish to speak under public expression, please use the raise hand feature to allow staff to add you to the meeting. Are there any requests for under telecomment for public expression?
I do not have any.
Okay, and anyone with their hand
And
raised
there's
on
no
Zoom?
one raising their hand.
All right, anyone in the room wishing to speak on public comment? All right, seeing none, I will close the public expression. Moving on, agenda item number 5, the consent calendar. On the consent calendar today, we have the approval of the Planning Commission meeting minutes from May 16th, 2024. There's no proposed revisions. I would entertain a motion.
I move to approve the minutes.
I would second.
All right. We need a roll call vote, yes?
Commissioner Babini,
Yes.
Commissioner Purnell,
Yes?
Chair Pollen.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
All right, agenda item number 6A. This is item U_2023-0008, Hooper Ranch, LLC. This is a major use permit for a major impact services and utilities facility to include a 20-acre solar farm that spans 3 parcels utilizing approximately 10,287 solar modules, 32 string inverters, and generating up to a total of 4 megawatts alternating current, 5.6 megawatts direct current, equipped with a 4 megawatt energy storage system interconnecting to PG&E's pre-existing electrical distribution system located on site. I'll open the public hearing at this point. Have there been any correspondence or telephone calls received?
All correspondence received have been posted to the public website.
Great, thank you very much. All right, I would invite staff presentation, please.
Good morning, Commissioners. Russ Ford, Senior Planner. So before you this morning is an application for a major use permit to establish a commercial solar energy farm for energy production in the Ukiah area. The project is located about 2 miles northeast of the city of Ukiah on the west side of Redemeyer Road, half a mile north of its intersection with Deerwood Drive. The site has 2 addresses, 2350 and 2550 Redemeyer Road, and 3 APNs. The project site is approximately 97 acres in size, with about 67 acres of that currently in vineyard production. It is zoned Ag 40 and is not currently subject to a Williamson Act contract. So the applicants propose to create a commercial solar energy array to generate renewable energy that would be fed back into the existing PG&E grid. The array would need about 20 acres of the project site and would be located in an area of the parcel adjacent to the county road that is not currently planted with vines. It would consist of more than 10,000 individual solar modules mounted on tracking swivels and would have the capacity to generate as much as 4 megawatts of renewable energy. Daily energy usage estimates vary, but using an average of 20 kilowatt hours a day, 4 megawatts could power approximately 200 homes. PG&E infrastructure that would allow connection to the larger power grid is existing on the site. The application includes a decommissioning plan that would restore the site to pre-project conditions in approximately 90 days and allow for the safe disposal and recycling of project components at the end of their functional life, which is currently estimated at 25 to 35 years. So as mentioned, the project site is classified and zoned agricultural and has been used for viticulture for at least 30 years. A commercial solar farm most closely aligns with the major impact services and utilities civic use type, which specifically includes power generating facilities, along with similar uses like landfills and water treatment plants. Major impact services and utilities is a permissible use in the ag zone upon the granting of a major use permit. Additionally, the project site falls within the boundaries of the Ukiah Valley Area Plan. So neither the UVAP nor the general plan have much to say on the topic of renewable energy, but UVAP policy EA1.1E does call for the preservation of opportunities to develop renewable energy sources and the promotion of renewable energy, with which this project would be strongly concerned. So consistent with CEQA, staff conducted an initial study of the project and identified several areas of potential impact. The first was related to sensitive plants and animals within the area of the development. A biological survey was conducted in January of 2023 that found 2 sensitive species with a possibility to occur within the project site. In response to CDFW concerns about the survey being conducted outside of the bloom period, a supplemental plant salvage plan was submitted in March of 2024. This plan provides guidance on identification of special status plants, best management practices and buffers to avoid them, and a salvage plan to preserve them. Supplemental plan was referred to CDFW for comment and subsequently approved. The recommendations included in both the biosurvey and the salvage plan have been incorporated into the project as mitigation measures Bio 1, Bio 7. Staff also identified concerns regarding the project site's proximity to a major water course, the Russian River, which lies approximately 1,600 feet to the west. While there would not be an abundance of hazardous materials on site, some that are associated with operations such as cooling fluids, lithium-ion batteries, lead, and cadmium would be present in quantities. Mitigation measure HAS 1 requires biannual inspection of project components, immediate removal of any that are leaking or failing, and reporting to the Division of Environmental Health consistent with hazardous material spill protocols. Finally, minor concerns were identified related to wildfire risks both to and from the project array. The project site is less than 1,000 feet from the Deerwood subdivision, and a wildfire caused by failing equipment could potentially cause severe damage to that residential development. Conversely, should a wildfire start in another location and reach the array, the thermal decomposition of many of the materials involved could create a release of hazardous materials into the surrounding environment. To mitigate the fire risks as much as possible, staff identified mitigation measure Fire 1, which requires all vegetation around the array to be maintained to a minimum height during the state-defined fire season. So with incorporation of the recommended mitigation measures, staff believes that the project would have a less than significant impact on the environment, and a mitigated negative declaration is recommended. Staff also recommends approval of the project to the Planning Commission, subject to the conditions of approval in Exhibit A of the resolution and the MMRP, which is also attached to the resolution as exhibit. So I also did have a couple of very minor changes to the resolution, which I'll bring up here. A lot on one screen. Okay. So the only changes staff is recommending to the resolution are the addition of a paragraph here at the top, which incorporates the MMRP by reference as Exhibit B, and then just adding condition of approval numbers to the mitigation measures down at the bottom, just to create a more consistent document. So with that, staff is available for questions.
Thank you. Any questions from the commission?
Not for staff, I mean project applicant.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for your presentation. We will now invite the applicant to, and just also, I know it seems weird because we're all here and we can all hear each other, but there are people potentially far away, so if you can make sure you project into the microphone, people will be able to hear you that aren't in the room. There you go. Thanks.
Good morning. My name is Brian Madigan, project developer with Renewable Properties, and much for allowing our time today to present our proposed Redemeyer Road solar project. I am actually standing in for the primary project manager, Aaron Prada, today, so pleased to be here to stand in. Wanted to start, next slide.
Next slide, please.
Yeah. Just a quick overview of what I wanted to cover today. Wanted to introduce the commission to Renewable Properties as a company, provide some backdrop on the policy reasons and rationale for this particular project, give a little overview on our site selection process, and then discuss some of the project details. So just a little bit about Renewable Properties. We are headquartered in San Francisco. We're a team of about 50 folks. We develop, finance, own, and operate small-scale utility solar, energy storage, and electric vehicle projects like this. kind of our specialty for the smaller scale. We are actively pursuing sites across the country. We are active in 14 different states, with 9 projects currently in construction in 4 different states, and 26 projects currently in operation across 7 different states. But by far, California is our biggest market, with 6 projects currently in operation and 2 under construction, most of those being closer to the Bay Area. Next slide. This is just a geographic representation of the states that we are currently pursuing project development opportunities, along with those that we actually have projects in at this time. Next slide. A little backdrop on the policy rationale for small scale and large scale solar projects and wind projects, renewable projects in general. California has a aggressive goal to reach 100% renewables by 2045. And in order to get to that objective, the California Energy Commission estimates that we need to bring on approximately 6 gigawatts of renewable energy every year for the next 16 years. So you'll probably be seeing more projects like this in the near future. And just to put that into context, in terms of the scale of this particular project, we would need about 1,200 similar Redemeyer Road projects to that 6 gigawatt goal here. Next. Yes. And so that's a little bit of the backdrop from a broader policy perspective. From the local perspective, we are working with Sonoma Clean Power and have executed a power purchase agreement for long-term sale of electricity to SCP, which is Sonoma County and Mendocino County's community choice aggregator. For those of you who aren't familiar, the community choice aggregator is your community's purchasing and sourcing of electrons from clean energy and renewable sources. So basically, the CCA, Sonoma Clean Power, provides the vehicle for Sonoma County and Mendocino County residents to source their power absent of PG&E. So SCP's goals and objectives, particularly with the Evergreen program, are to provide 100% renewables to its customers 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And so this project helps provide the clean power to meet that goal, to help SCP meet the objective. Next slide. This is just a little background on the Evergreen program, but it is kind of the first of its kind. And so something for Sonoma and Mendocino County residents to be proud of with their CCA. Next slide. A little bit about our site selection process. Just to kind of note that a lot of time, energy, and effort has been spent trying to get to a project that we have here today with Redemeyer Road. And so there are a lot of variables that need to align. From a site characteristics perspective, we try to avoid locations that are in a flood zone. The topography and slope aspect of the site needs to be suitable, can't be too steep. We need to be close to public access or roadway, as well as 3-phase power. And then that 3-phase power line or distribution line needs to actually have capacity in order for the project to connect. And then finally, we need a willing landowner who is interested in working with us. So that's all to say, you know, there's quite a big funnel in the beginning, and there are a few projects that actually make it to the point we are today. So happy to be here in that respect. Next slide. And so Russ kind of covered the site specifics, but again, just to reiterate that the actual project area is vacant at this time. It was previously used as a vineyard, but the 20-acre area that the project will be sited is currently fallow. So the rest of Hooper Ranch can continue as an active vineyard, and this project will help support, a steady stream of predictable revenue for the landowner to continue to do what they wish with the remainder of their property. I know there was concern, maybe next slide, about the transition of, or there was a perception that the project might transition actively used agricultural land, but as the ISM&D noted, we won't be converting any agricultural land to a non-agricultural use. We don't conflict with any Williamson Act contracts, and in terms of the state farmland mapping program, we are mapped as grazing land. So there's not prime soils, not kind of disrupting that agricultural baseline. And then here, in terms of the project layout, we'll be accessing the project from Redemeyer Road on the southeast corner of the project site. Road travels north. The northwest corner, the batteries will be situated in the northwest corner, and then the transformer and inverter, just the transformer pads there are located at the center of the site. We have been actively working with Ukiah Valley Fire District to make sure they're comfortable with the site design, and we do have sign-off from them. And as Russ mentioned, we have sign-off from CDFW, local tribes, and various other county departments. And I forgot to mention, the important aspect of the project here is the batteries, which provide the opportunity for the electrons generated by solar to be shifted to peak demand periods when the sun is going down. We can actually use the batteries to deploy those electrons when they're most useful to the grid and to customers. So allows greater penetration of renewable energy. And also helps with grid stability and overall grid reliability. And next slide. Actually, next slide. So just a few examples of projects that we have currently in operation. This is our American Canyon solar project in Napa County near American Canyon. It's 3 megawatts, similar size, currently actively producing electrons for Rain Clean Energy. Next slide. This is our Slayton Settlement Road project in Lockport, New York. Site was formerly a dairy operation. The dairy farmers wanted to retire, and solar was a good way for them to keep the land in their family and have a steady stream of income to take a break from the cows. Next slide. And finally, just our Bullis Road solar project in the town of Marilla in New York. 4.5 megawatt, was previously used for agricultural purposes. Now it's clean, renewable energy. So just wanted to give a flavor of what our projects look like and where we've been active, so get a sense for our reputation. Next slide. So again, thank you very much for the opportunity to present the project. We're excited to be working with Sonoma Clean Power and provide this opportunity for residents of Mendocino and Sonoma to have yet another source of clean renewable energy that's local to them. And we at Renewable Properties feel climate change is a global problem that requires local solutions. And so getting to that bigger goal of 6 gigawatts a year in clean renewable energy by 2040, this is one small step in getting there, and we're happy to be part of it. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions for the applicant?
Good morning. I'm very familiar with Senate Bill 100. It all the time at work, but I did notice on slide 12, which is your site plan of the project site, I was looking next to the BESS system, and I saw the little green, and I didn't note in the staff report if there was any intention of an on-site substation for interconnection.
No, no substation is required for a project at this scale. Sometimes the larger utility, hundreds of megawatts do require that, but we can cleanly interconnect with substation, step-up transformers, existing distribution grid.
That was kind of my next question, was with the gen tie from the BESS system to the POI, is there any intention or need to upgrade the existing utility poles for PG&E?
Yes, we would need to make some minor upgrades to accommodate the project, just for that introduction of additional power. I believe it includes some minor reconductoring, replacing the conductor that's there, and some additional small, not too costly upgrades that I would need to get back to you on for further detail.
No worries. I am familiar with the interconnection at, utility pole. I just wasn't sure, since knowing our county and some of the poles and the conductors that we do have, they're very old. And so I know that with, the increase in generation, that typically those needed as well.
Yep.
Thank you, Mr. Madigan. I don't have any further questions.
Commissioner Pronell? Okay, I don't have any questions for you either. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, now we will open this up to public comment.
Pardon me, Chair.
Yes, please.
So I just wanted to note, because if you saw online, we did not have the red line resolution and MMRP posted as of yet. They have just been uploaded to the public webpage. So if you refresh your page, you will see that there is a red line resolution and the MMRP. And Russ Ford has also just shared that on his screen here. So we just wanted to make sure that the public knew that was up there and available. There's no surprises in it. It's the same mitigation measures that are called out within Exhibit A. It just now includes that monitoring portion about when it's implemented and who's who's ensuring that compliance has been reached.
Thank you. All right. Are we good to move on to public comment? Okay, great. Let's see. The Commission will now hear public comment on this item. The Commission will start with public comment in the room and then hear from telecommenters that are connected virtually via Zoom. Anybody in the room wish to speak? I didn't think so. All right. Then we will move to telecomment. Do we have anybody on Zoom wishing to speak right now?
Nobody's raising their hand.
Great. And we haven't received any additional telecomment on this item.
I've not. Just
Okay.
what's posted on the
Okay.
internet.
Fantastic. All right, then. Do we have any final remarks from staff, then?
No final remarks, thank you.
All right. Any final remarks from the applicant? Happy 4th of July to you, too. All right. Then we'll turn this back over. We'll close the public hearing, and the matter is now before the Commission. Any discussion? All right. I will invite a motion, then.
Sure, let me refresh my memory here. I make a motion to approve the resolution of the Planning Commission, County of Mendocino, State of California, adopting a mitigated negative declaration and granting a major use permit, U_2023-0008, for a major impact services and utility facility to include a 20-acre solar farm as amended today, or as included in the amended resolution today. My best.
Well done. All right. Do we have a second?
Second?
All right. A roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Purnell,
Yes.
Commissioner Babini,
Yes.
Chair Pond.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you for making the time to come up here and speak with us today. Appreciate it. Yep. All right. Moving on. Item number 6B. This is item A_2022-0006. Raymond and Tina Lunardi and Kathy Lunardi and Jolene and Patrick Corcoran. This is an agricultural preserve application to establish a Williamson Act contract over 11 parcels for a total of 1,950 total acres. The land is within an existing agricultural preserve. I'll now open the public hearing. Has there been any correspondence received or telephone calls received?
I have not received any comments.
Thank you very much. I will now ask for staff presentation, please.
Morning, everyone. This is Liam Crowley, staff for this project. As mentioned, this is Agricultural Preserve A 2022-006. The applicant is Ray Lunardi, and I believe we have Ray on Zoom if you have any questions for him. Okay, so a bit of background about this project. As mentioned, this is a request to establish a new Williamson Act contract over 11 assessor parcel numbers for a total of 1,950 acres. As you can see on the map, the project is located kind of in between in the foothills, kind of in between the southern end of Round Valley and the middle fork of the Eel River. And as was mentioned, the property is within an existing agricultural preserve. So if you remember with the Williamson Act, we have kind of two parts. There's agricultural preserves and then there's the contracts themselves. So, you know, for example, if you had 3 separate owners that each had 50 acres, they could get together and create a 150-acre agricultural preserve. And then each of those individual owners could apply for their own contracts within that agricultural preserve. So there was an agricultural preserve that was established back in 1996 that included this property and several other properties. And those agricultural preserves don't expire. So this property is within an existing preserve, and the application is just to incorporate or just to establish a contract over the land. And the land is used for cattle grazing. And I just did want to mention as well, there's a small parcel kind of in the middle of this site. It's that small trapezoid shape, which is actually, the ownership is listed as vacant. So I presume it's owned either by the county or by the federal government. And so that's not included within this project. It's just the surrounding properties. Wanted to mention that. Consistency. So the Board of Supervisors has adopted policies and procedures for Williamson Act contracts and agricultural preserves. Those form kind of the primary basis on which we determine whether or not a proposed preserve or a proposed contract is consistent. So as I mentioned, so one of the criteria is that, you know, obviously a contract would have to be within an existing agricultural preserve, which is the case for this property. There has to be an existing agricultural use, which there is here. The grazing lease that was provided in the application shows that property's been used for grazing since at least 2022. Another requirement is that for non-prime agricultural lands, each parcel that's within a contract has to be at least 40 acres in size, and that is true for this project. And then for income requirements, there's a $2,000 yearly base income requirement with an additional $2.50 per acre that would apply to this project. And so the annual income requirement for this project specifically would be $6,875. So there was a couple pieces of evidence that were submitted to show that the annual income requirement would be met. That includes a grazing lease and some capital improvements that have been made, fence installation and repairs for the project. And so these capital improvements can be substituted for annual income from the grazing operation itself. And I did also just want to mention that the grazing lease does contain a provision within it that allows the lessee to basically write off money that's spent on capital improvements against the rent. So in this case, although the grazing lease was for $7,000 in total, after we exclude all the money that was spent on capital improvements and hence deducted from the rent, we would have $965. And then those capital improvements totaled $6,045, so they do meet the income requirements. And one of the other requirements is just that any other uses on the property are compatible with the Williamson Act, and that is the case for this project as well. There's an existing residence, which is a compatible use, and then there are some other agricultural structures which aren't compatible uses, but are just incorporated into the overall the qualifying agricultural use. And then lastly, all of these parcels are contiguous, which is another requirement for establishing. So overall, the project is consistent with the Williamson Act policies and procedures that we have. Move on here to our recommendation. Oh, sorry, I did just want to mention something that's a little bit confusing. So with this map, you can see that it's showing only existing Williamson Act contracts. It's not showing agricultural preserves. So you can see the surrounding lands are within existing Williamson Act contracts, but this property is not. But what it's not showing is that this property is within an existing preserve, which just isn't shown on our GIS. I wanted to make that clarification. So moving on to our recommendation, there is a specific exemption in the CEQA guidelines for the establishment of new contracts. And so with that, staff is recommending that the Planning Commission adopt the attached resolution, which would be recommending approval of the project to the Board of Supervisors. So with that, I'm available for any questions.
Thank you. Any questions from commissioners?
Just one quick question. Can the capital improvements be substituted for income requirements, or do both need to be?
As far as I remember in the policies and procedures, they can both be used to meet the income requirements, and yes, they can be substituted for.
Okay, any other questions from commissioners? All right, thank you very much. Do we have the applicant on the phone or Zoom or any form? We do have somebody. All right. Ray, could you please introduce yourself? And
yeah, hi, my name is Ray Lenardi, and one of the owners of the property up in Covelo.
Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right. We are eagerly anticipating any words that you might want to share with us.
I just appreciate the work that they've done to get us back. We were when we bought the property was in the Williamson Act, and I think 2012 there was a renewal, and we missed it or messed it up, and we just would like to get back into it.
Okay, great. Anything else you would like to add?
Nope.
Okay. Well,
no.
Thanks for zooming in.
No, thanks for the help.
You're welcome. All right. We'll now take public comment on this item. We'll start with comments in the room. Seeing none. Are there any other speakers on Zoom?
I don't have anybody raising their hand.
All right. Thank you very much. All right. Any final comments from staff?
This is Liam. Nothing from me. Thanks.
Okay. I'm assuming there's no additional applicant comments. Any additional questions from the commission? All right, I'll close the public hearing. The matter is now before the commission. Public comment is no longer permitted. I will invite a motion from the commission.
I move that by resolution, the Planning Commission recommends approval of A 2022-0006 to the Board of Supervisors, subject to the findings contained in the attached resolution.
Do we have a second?
I second.
All right, roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Babini?
Yes.
Commissioner Purnell?
Yes?
Chair Pollen.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Very much. All right, agenda item number 7, matters from staff. Are there any matters from staff today?
I have nothing. Report to the director.
Nothing from staff.
Great. Any matters from, then agenda item number 8?
Repair plan for the insurance. No, it's not.
Wait.
We're
We're
good.
good? Okay. We're picking up some other signals there. Okay, agenda item number 8, matters from the commission. Any additional matters from commissioners? All right, then agenda item number 9, I'll invite a motion to adjourn.
So moved?
Second?
Great. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you all very much.